Blood was smeared across the wooden walls. The furniture had been overturned. A knife was lodged in the wall. And in the center of the cabin, 3 bodies lay bound and beaten. Whoever had done this hadn't just killed, they had unleashed something furious. Keddie, California, was the kind of town no one talked about. Tucked deep in the Sierra Nevadas, it was more a cluster of cabins than a proper town. One of those cabins, number 28, sat just above the Feather River, a modest rental in a place that had seen better days. It was April 11th, 1981. The Sharp family had settled in months earlier. Glenna Sue Sharp lived there with her 5 children, trying to build a quiet life after leaving an abusive marriage. That night, 14-year-old Sheila Sharp had been sleeping over at a friend's cabin nearby. When she came home the next morning, she opened the front door to a silence that felt wrong. Inside, the living room looked like a slaughterhouse. Her mother, Sue, lay dead, beaten beyond recognition. Beside her, 15-year-old John Sharp and his friend Dana Wingate, 17, were just as brutalized. Ropes, tape, blood, everywhere. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. Inside the back bedroom, 3 young boys, Rick Sharp, Greg Sharp, and their friend Justin, were found alive and untouched. They'd slept through it all, or so they said. The police were called. The Plumas County Sheriff's Office arrived quickly, but the scene was already contaminated. Neighbors had walked in and out. Evidence had been moved. Still, investigators tried to piece it together. The victims had been bound with medical tape and electrical cords. They'd been beaten with a hammer. One of them had been stabbed. The level of overkill made no sense, and nothing had been stolen. Whoever did this came for the people, not the possessions. A search began for Tina Sharp, Sue's 12-year-old daughter. She was missing from the scene, and her absence felt deliberate. For years, that absence became the heart of the mystery. Where had she gone? Who had taken her? The surviving boys gave conflicting statements. Justin, just 12, claimed he'd dreamed the whole thing. Then later, under hypnosis, he described 2 men in the house, one with long hair and a mustache, the other clean-cut, wearing army boots. They'd argued with Sue before things turned violent. But even this testimony felt shaky, half imagined, half real. That's when suspicion turned inward. 2 men, Martin Smart and Beau Boubaid, lived nearby. Martin was the stepfather of Justin. He'd been angry at Sue for interfering in his marriage, and he reportedly owned a hammer, just like the one missing from the crime scene. Beau had a criminal record and mob ties. Both were interviewed. Both denied involvement, and somehow, both were let go, despite glaring inconsistencies in their stories. The case went cold. 3 years later, in 1984, Tina's remains were discovered in the woods, nearly 100 miles away, her skull and fragments of bone scattered near an old bottle dump. No one knew how she got there, or why. Evidence began to pile up, misplaced, ignored, forgotten. A therapist's letter revealed Martin Smart had confessed to the murders during a session. Another hammer matching the description was found in a nearby pond. Still, no arrests were made. In the decades that followed, the Keddie cabin sat abandoned. The crime scene, Cabin 28, became an object of morbid fascination, a place people whispered about but didn't visit. In 2004, it was demolished, but even the rubble couldn't bury what happened there. In 2016, a new investigation uncovered even more disturbing facts. DNA found at the scene didn't match any of the victims, and strongly suggested the presence of additional, unidentified individuals. Sheriff Hagwood called it a personal vendetta, a crime filled with rage and symbolism, one that had been overlooked, mismanaged, and buried by incompetence. To this day, no one has been charged, no trial, no justice, just a cabin in the woods, once full of life, reduced to silence and blood. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. If you enjoyed this true story, join us next time, if you dare.